Hi, I'm Paul, and this is Cask Talk, and today we are going to be talking about a cider instead of our usual beers. There's the guy right there, Original Sin, Mcintosh Cider. And sitting next to me is Dave, a certified beer judge and home brewer.
Recommended by one of our friends who said, hey, we should try to do one on a cider.
On Facebook, please like and share.
Yeah, so please like and share. Thank you.
And comment. We appreciate
and comment.
it all.
We love the recommendations. I'm not in any way a cider expert. I have made a few. I have some experience with apples. In fact, dehydrated some apples today for some tasty, yummy treats. So this is Mcintosh Unfiltered Cider by Original Sin. I chose it specifically because the labeling looked cool, because it's got kind of like that English style lion on it.
The rampant lion.
Yeah.
With two tails.
So it looked cool, and we did a little research on it, learned a little bit more about the company.
This particular cider is all about the Mcintosh apples, and according to the company, the Mcintosh apple came from Canada in 1811. And one thing that we found out is that this company runs their own orchard, which we thought was actually really cool. They have a big variety of different apples on them.
And apparently, apples are generally cloned, that there are 17,000 different styles, and one of the reasons why is that when you grow a apple tree from a seed, you end up with an apple that may be
a little
different than what the original apple was. Because it's not a very stable seed, what you end up with is the best way to create the same kind of apple down the line is to clone them. So it's Mcintosh is very cloned.
Yeah,
it's a very popular style. Yeah. So this is obviously the red style. My previous experience with ciders, like I said, I made one myself, which was kind of a mixture of apple pie, Granny Smith, and crab apples, mainly because that's what we had in the orchard. So we just kind of picked the apples that were there, squeezed them into juice, and made a cider with it. It turned out really good, really enjoyed it. We made a few other drinks over the years with them. And that, as I understand, is a very typical thing with ciders, is that you have an orchard, it has a mixture of apples. You're going to choose the apples that you have and make it with it. So this is a very pure,
this is all
specific
Mcintosh
apples. This may actually be somewhat unique in regards to other ciders that we have.
Yeah, this company has a bunch of ciders. All they make are ciders. They had, pear, pineapple, Fuji apples even. I was kind of impressed with that one. But it's one of those things that you start looking at it and you're like, oh, there's a whole can of worms here I can open up and start messing with. Well, unfortunately, we only have so much time to drink so many, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's open up and
give it
see
a
what
pour.
It's about. It's also an unfiltered cider, so it's really popular to filter things.
Oh, there's chunkies.
Yeah, there's your unfiltered. Yeah, and the unfiltered part of it.
Nice.
So that's going to be a lot of the natural aspect of the beer itself. So that would be traditionally, or the cider, yeah.
See, we've been doing too many beer videos apparently, or drinking too much beer, or I don't know, something with beer. It's quite cloudy, and you can see the chunkies in there. So I'm curious if that's actually just apple peel, which it looks like it could be.
Yeah, it could be a little apple zest in there, yeah.
Could be just chunks of the apple.
I don't see a lot of carbonation, obviously not a lot of head, which I think is pretty typical with a cider.
Yeah, they're normally not loaded up with carbonation. And it smells like an apple cider.
Yeah, it smells yeasty to me, which I actually like. I like that yeasty kind of character to it. One of the things that I find interesting about ciders too is when you're traditionally making them, you're using the natural yeast that actually grows on the apples themselves. So you would literally just crush the apples down. If you ever see it, it's literally just a big container with like slats around it. They wheel down these board that essentially just crushes the apples to make the juice. They would use the yeast that's on the rinds and everything would just come off into the solution. They just let it ferment. Though I would assume in modern production of this, you would add the yeast that you want to.
I'm sure they use a specific yeast. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get a consistent product. It's good. I like it. It's got just a touch of carbonation in there. Enough that you can taste it and feel it, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, I'm a fan of tartness.
It's a bit on the dry side.
This definitely has that sharp tartness.
Yeah.
That you get out of a specific apples.
That's a Mcintosh too.
Yep.
Mcintosh apples got a bit of a tartness to them.
Very reminiscent of eating a Mcintosh. So the addition of the yeast and the alcohol, and it really doesn't take away from that. It's really appley in the taste.
Oh yeah. It definitely, you know you're drinking an apple cider, we'll put it that way. There's no question about any of that. But it's good. It's like drinking a apple juice with a bit of a bite, and a bit of an alcohol, and a little bit of a carbonation to it.
Yeah, I think it's a moderately carbonated. It could probably use a little bit more carbonation. I know you're not a big fan of the carbonation. It's got that tartness to the flavor.
It's got a pleasant mouthfeel.
Yeah, obviously a little bit thinner than a lot of the beers that we've been drinking.
Yeah, but it's still there. And the aftertaste is pretty pleasant too.
Yeah, very pleasant. Good, like summer afternoon. Be a great drink. Summer afternoon in the heat.
I think this time of year, November, maybe October, falls into a pretty festive drink to have as well.
You think more of a fall?
Yeah.
When I think fall and I think winter, I think something that's going to be a little bit higher in alcohol. And this is pretty on the warm side. It's a 6% alcohol by volume. But
this is more than your average beer.
I would think that when I think fall, I'm thinking something that probably has more of an alcohol warmth to it. I'm not really picking up that alcohol warmth. The 6% is hidden really well.
I can tell it's there, and I like it. It's pleasant.
Yeah, very good suggestion. Like I mentioned, I'm not a cider enthusiast by any means. I have a very limited experience when it comes to cider.
I'm not much of a cider enthusiast either, but most of the ciders I've been exposed to are standard bar fare ciders, and most of them are just far too sweet for me to drink. I could handle drinking this on a regular basis because it's not overly sweet. Like I've had pear ciders and it was like drinking juice with sugar and alcohol added, and it was not. It was just not a good experience.
Yeah, so this one certainly is not the, we'll say, processed type ciders that you would see by, like, let's say the big companies. Some of them are very refined and filtered. They're also potentially could be maybe only a percentage of apple for the flavor and the rest of the alcohol added into it. And this is a little bit more of a natural, and you can tell the naturalness to it. Obviously, you're seeing the unfiltered aspect of it, but you can tell by the smell. It has a little bit of a musty smell. It almost like is reminiscent of like almost like a Belgian smell.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't have that Belgian tartness. It does have a tartness to it that would be reminiscent of some of the sour beers. Something like this is, I think,
this is a hair on the
definitely
sour
my style.
side. This is definitely a hair on the sour side, but it's not a problem.
Yeah, I think the sourness mainly driven from the actual apple tartness itself, and not from, let's say, the bacterial or yeast growth that they're choosing from. So probably not seeing any sort of Brettanomyces, or there's probably no lactobacillus in it. You're really looking at something that's probably just tart because of what the ingredient is. Though it does have that reminiscent of those kind of styles that have those souring agents that are in it. If you like sour beers, this is a really good alternative. It's also, because it's unfiltered, probably a little bit more natural. Good chance it's, the majority of it is probably apple. I don't show...
Website says that it's all apple, that they make it out of Mcintosh, upstate New York, for Original Sin.
Mcintosh apples, yeast, and sulfites.
Yeah. And I'm personally not a big fan of sulfites myself. I don't have a really good reaction to them.
Yeah, I'm not.
I drink a huge amount of them, but normally I can taste sulfites. Like if there's sulfites added to wine or mead, I can taste it. I can't really taste that the sulfites are here, there, and this. So I think they just got enough in there to basically kill the yeast.
Yeah, and that's usually what it's used for, is when you're looking for a certain level of sweetness in a beer or drink, like a cider, you're going to add the sulfites to stop the yeast production, so you don't end up with something that's going to be a lot drier than you expected, or higher alcohol. It's going to leave some residual sweetness in it. So it does. It has a good balance between the tartness and the sweetness. Obviously, it's not spice. There's no hop element to kind of balance it off.
This would be good with cinnamon.
Yeah, this
might actually be really good warmed with cinnamon.
I like warm cider, so I like where you're going there with it, and I think the cinnamon would be a great addition with it.
The cinnamon stick, or just...
I'm just thinking
even like putting a little cinnamon
with all
in
the
glass.
effort that goes into carbonating it and making it the drink it is, if you did warm it up, you would lose all the carbonation out of it, and you would probably, like, you could buy cider that you could warm up. You're going to probably lose a little bit of some of the sharpness in it, I think, if you warm it up. But obviously adding the cinnamon would make it spicier. That would be really good. We would love to hear your opinion on this. So if you have an opportunity, go out. It's Original Sin, which is a very fun, tongue-in-cheek aspect of apples. Do the research on that. The Mcintosh. We'd love to hear your opinion on either the company, the style. Go out, grab some. We just picked some up at the beverage store, and we'd love to hear your opinion on it. Plus, please like, share our work here, and
let us know if you have any suggestions. We're always open to suggestions. This is only done because of a suggestion, and we appreciate it. And honestly, we don't just appreciate the suggestions and the interaction, we appreciate the drink. So
yep,
please feel free to let us know of anything you think we should try. Doesn't matter what it is, we're all in.
Thank you.
Cheers.